Explosive headlines, parasitic outbreaks, gastrointestinal infections, and recalled produce. Learn how public health makes sense of sensationalism to help you continue to enjoy your favorite foods without fear. I'm Andrea, the Community Engagement Specialist from Williamson County and City's Health District, a county just north of Austin, Texas, who's a passionate public health worker with almost a decade of public health experience, dedicated to making public health more accessible to you, the public, on Public Health Is. If you've ever been curious about the ins and outs of public health, join me for a special series I'm calling In the News to learn more about emerging public health issues, how they could and would impact the Lone Star State, and what that means for you as a resident of Williamson County. So I've got a full house today. Who wants to go first?
Hello, my name is Jovette Newton. I work with Environmental Health Division here at Williamson County and City's Health District as the Deputy Environmental Health Director.
And hi, I'm Lori Murphy. I'm the Environmental Health Director.
And hello, everyone. My name is Caleb. I am the Director of Epidemiology and Disease Surveillance.
So if you couldn't tell from the cold open, we are talking about explosive diarrhea today. And that's why we've got epidemiology and environmental health, because this is both an epidemiological issue as well as an environmental health issue. So Caleb, tell me a little bit about what all is causing this explosive diarrhea.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to talk about that. We're talking about Cyclospora, right? You'll probably see in the news Cyclospora cayetanensis, Cyclospora, Cyclosporiasis, all basically the same thing. Cyclospora is actually the organism itself. It's a single-celled parasite, infects your small intestine, and kind of hangs out there. It's most associated with contaminated food or water. Here in Texas, mostly occurs in sporadic cases, but it can cause outbreaks. The illness itself is actually called Cyclosporiasis.
And with the illness, like outside of just poop, what else is happening? Because I'm sure there's other issues going on there that people may or may not notice prior to the more, I would say, substantial.
Well, it's actually really interesting because one of the biggest characteristics, or the most noticeable characteristic of Cyclospora, is the explosive diarrhea. It's very watery, and it is most associated with pretty bad dehydration. So if you're hospitalized or you're becoming increasingly ill, it's usually related to the dehydration portion and not so much the parasite itself.
Right. And then I think I read somewhere that a lot of times people, with a Cyclospora infection will be sick for about a week, give or take, and then they get better. They think everything's fine. And then what was it, like a month later, they get this again and don't realize that they just never cleared the infection.
Yeah. So something to look out for is that reoccurring severe diarrhea. If you think, oh, I'm better, and then a week later you're back at it, something is definitely wrong. And that is a very common symptom of cyclo. So that's something that might tip you off to. This isn't salmonella. This isn't coli. This is something different.
Yeah, not regular food poisoning, like something
Right.
else is at work. And so are there any signs to look out for? Is it just, you get bad cramps and that's it? You're stuck on the toilet?
Mostly, yes. So severe diarrhea, multiple episodes, 10 or more times a day, it gets pretty bad. The reoccurring portion there, but also weight loss, especially if it's not attributed to the diet that you're on or exercise that you're doing. Fever is pretty uncommon, actually. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so you're not really going to see that. And when you do, it's on the lower end. Vomiting as well, not super common.
Okay.
You're really looking for that explosive diarrhea, multiple episodes a day, kind of that reoccurring pattern of I'm okay, I'm not okay, I'm okay, and I'm not okay. Something else to kind of tie into that is, have you traveled recently? Where did you go? What foods are you eating? Are they associated to known outbreaks? Leafy greens tend to be the underlying factor there.
And we'll get a little more into that with Lori and Jovette. But in terms of people, is there anyone that's more at risk, like immunocompromised or kids, elderly adults, or is it across the board, everybody is at the same risk of getting it?
It's actually a little bit of everything. So absolutely everyone is at risk of getting it. There are some groups that are more susceptible. So thinking back to immunocompromised or immunosuppressed individuals receiving some sort of therapy treatment. Outside of the medical portion, though, think of, did you travel recently? Are you consuming foods that are more higher risk? Especially young children and older adults, they're higher risk because of the dehydration portion. The diarrhea can be so severe, unfortunately, that it can be almost impossible to stay hydrated without medical intervention.
And is it possible to be asymptomatic with this, or is it you'll know you have it?
You'll know you'll have it.
Okay.
There's always a possibility of someone feeling asymptomatic, even if they're not as severely ill, but they're definitely going to have some sort of symptom.
Okay. So then moving over to Lori and Jovette. So we talked a little bit about the leafy greens, but what else usually is causing this outbreak? And, how does it spread? How do we even get it in our food in the first place?
Great question. Well, historically, it's been raw produce. We have not exactly defined which one it is for this particular outbreak, which is nationwide. It's across multiple states, but typically raw produce. What's interesting is washing will help, but it will not remove the Cyclospora. It just likes to adhere. That's what it does. It adheres to the surface of the produce, but cooking will help.
Cooking is probably the best caveat or counteract to ensuring that for this particular bug, I'm going to call it.
It's a parasite.
Parasite.
It's not one.
Yes.
It's a pair of
To
them.
this ravaging thing that's coming up on us is probably the best measure that you can take. So limiting the amount of raw produce that you do ingest.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a good time to forget the salads.
Or throw them in with the stir fry, throw that spinach in there and let it become, fancy stir fry.
Spinach works, romaine doesn't.
Kale never works for anything ever.
And so we mentioned it a little bit, right? So cooking works really well to kill it. Washing will help a little bit. Do we know if there's like a threshold, so to speak, of like if we wash 90%, then you don't get sick versus if it washes 50% off, you will get sick?
No, we don't know. There have not been any studies or tests to tell us exactly how much. So do your best. Right. Also, it's not something that has happened in the grocery store. It is not something that you got sick because somebody was sick who was making your food, which is not usual. Usually that's how we get it, is this fecal-oral route that happens with sick food workers. In this particular case, it is environmental. It is from the source. It's from the farm. It's irrigation water that is being used that has not been properly treated to protect us from human waste. So yeah. Definitely wash, cook, clean.
So then I think it's important to mention fecal-oral. So I will let you all get into that.
Yeah. Poop.
Poop. Yeah. The most common route is it's contaminated on your food. So a really interesting characteristic for cyclo is that when it immediately expels from your body, it is not infectious at that moment. It actually needs to hang out, Lori mentioned, in the environment for about a week or two, and then it sporulates and becomes infectious. That usually means it's already on something that you're hopefully not going to eat, but will do. And here we are.
So what I'm hearing is clean your surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Your surfaces, clean your hands.
Yes.
What about with pools? Would there be a risk there?
There is a possibility of waterborne. So it does not appear to be so much this case but in general, absolutely do not swim if you have diarrhea. Do not swim if you have diarrhea.
Please.
Yeah, you're not going to wash it off, my friend.
You're going to stir it around.
Yeah. Now, if you don't have diarrhea and you are going to go swim in a public recreational water, still shower, rinse it off before you go in and after you come out. Cyclospora is not affected by routine chlorine treatment. So hopping in, the chlorine will kill it. Nope, not in this case. Some UV light treatments can affect it, but those are not mandatory in pools and spas. They are recommended for splash pads, but in general, it's not something that is typically out there to help us with it. So yeah. And, little kids, get them out to have bathroom breaks often. Give them opportunities.
And I think we've touched on it a little bit, but going into more detail, why do we care about this? Why is this a public health issue?
Yeah. Well, definitely the dehydration and the way it can affect people for so long. It sticks around for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it does not take care of itself quickly.
No. And as we mentioned, it can go away, it can come back. You think you're okay, then you're not. And in those in-betweens, you could still be shedding that Parasite, and hopefully not at a pool, but all those things are happening. And until you get tested, you don't know. And then by the time you do know, you've kind of forgotten. Oh yeah, I went to the public pool. I also ate these meals. And it makes it really hard to track that back.
And Caleb, is it something that's routinely tested for?
Well, here in Texas, actually, yes. So a lot of our providers use a GI panel that absolutely includes cyclo, but there are GI panels that do not include cyclo. There's also ova and parasite tests that we use here very commonly in Texas. And the reason why that's so common is we have cyclospora here every year. So every summer, especially during this time right now, we call our cyclospora season because it's common here. People travel to Mexico and South America, and when they come back, they have cyclo. So we do get cases here quite regularly. Not super common during the winter months, but during the summer, you see it.
So no need to panic.
No.
Happens every year. Just got to be more aware of what you're eating, where you're going. And as Jovette said, disinfecting surfaces and washing your hands.
At a solid frequency. Don't let a couple of weeks, as Caleb said, don't let a couple of weeks go by where you did not clean, okay? Don't.
Cyclically clean.
Cyclically clean to keep yourself safer from Cyclospora.
A fun tip, steam clean. It is particularly weak to heat. So cooking obviously is great for your food. We want to do that. But if you have a steam cleaner, you could use that on surfaces, and that could help also with your cleaning cycle.
Good tip. I like that one.
And so then how are we at WCCHD addressing this outbreak, both from the epidemiology standpoint and then from environmental health? Because these are intertwined, but what we do within each division is different.
Sure. On the epidemiology side of things, we're every summer monitoring cyclo cases. We interview people who become ill. We track back where that possibly came from. 9 times out of 10, that's usually related to travel. With an outbreak kind of in the northern states, it's a little bit across the nation. So, we got a kind of a big thing going on, but with just kind of regular surveillance, we're asking those questions. Did you travel to Michigan? Have you been in the northeastern part of the country? What did you eat? Where did you go? Do you have receipts? Can I see those? Get really invasive and try to get as much of that information as we can. So on our end, we can then connect anything that's happening locally, either to travel or to an outbreak. And that lets us respond more appropriately.
And finding common foods. So a lot of times folks don't remember what they ate. And you have to kind of, this is why the receipts sometimes help.
Oh, yeah.
It helps jog memories. Hey, okay, you went out with a whole bunch of people and it was a birthday party. So were y'all sharing meal, salsa? What was happening here? These kinds of questions. And that's really what will help us when we start identifying perhaps a cluster or, several people ate at one particular restaurant or received food from a certain distributor that went to several different restaurants. And then this is where environmental health will come in, is we'll do the boots on the ground and do the investigative work at the establishments to try and find something common that we can trace back to hopefully find a distributor or a farm that it's coming from so that we can perhaps even cease operations for a little while till they can get things under control. And ultimately, the biggest goal is make sure nobody else gets sick. This is why you're going to report. You're reporting. Unfortunately, we can't make you feel better, but we can try and help you figure out where it came from and then protect your friends, families, neighbors.
So please, if you get a call from us or, if you are listening in from somewhere else, your local health department there, please answer, because we cannot track down where this outbreak is coming from if we can't get a hold of you to figure out what you did, where you went, and what you ate.
Absolutely. And just to kind of highlight that, please answer, but also please know that all of that is protected health information. So we don't just post that stuff. No one's going to know about it. It really just helps us do that tracing, find out where it started, where it's going, so we can intervene in that cycle.
And just following up on the other end of that, folks kind of get worried. Well, if I tell epidemiology, then environmental health will know. And then when they go to the restaurant, they'll say, hey, so-and-so came and ate here on Tuesday at 3 p.m. By the time Epi gets the information, they really scrub it before we see it. So we really only know, hey, go to this restaurant and check out their chicken. Where did that come from? Check out all their raw produce. Who's supplying that? So it really is anonymous. And our numbers, this is kind of a question to pitch towards you, Caleb, but are we experiencing high numbers in Williamson County or normal?
So here locally, typically what we see in the past is that cases are travel related. So people who, especially to like Mexico, South America, very popular here in Texas for people to travel there. Most of those cyclo cases are coming back with them. That is what we expect to see. That's actually not really the whole picture we're seeing this year. Recently, about half, give or take, are related to travel, and the other half are not. That's a big red flag for us.
Mhm.
If people aren't traveling, then that means, or it suggests at least, that they're acquiring that locally. And to acquire something like Cyclospora locally, it's not as simple as it sounds.
Mhm.
Typically, it comes from your produce that you're eating, leafy greens. And then in case of this outbreak, things like iceberg lettuce, cilantro, and a long list of other stuff that you're buying from either the grocery store, or maybe you went out to eat, or maybe you had a catered event or something along those lines, and you've
Mhm.
eaten that, and that's how you become ill locally. What, again, that would suggest is that somewhere along that supply chain, before it gets to the restaurant or the store,
Mm.
it's become contaminated. So when we look at the local numbers, especially recently, and we see that people aren't traveling, but they do have cyclospora, it
Mhm.
makes us start to ask those questions. How is that happening? Where are they getting it from? What is that potential exposure? Kind of going back to the disease investigation
Yeah.
episode, we're looking at all of that evidence and we're trying to build a case for where is this coming from? To help us in that endeavor, we do lots of things. Obviously, we're interviewing people, asking a ton of questions, but we're also working with the state lab. We are doing more and more testing to try to link cases together, to try to link them with cases that are happening nationally or outside of the state of Texas. So we can try to get an idea of, is this something that's happening in relation to the outbreak that's currently going on? Or do we have our own little cluster or outbreak that's happening here in Texas that's specific to us?
Right. And so when we're looking to tie it to a bigger outbreak, especially the one that's happening nationally right now that's in the news, how quickly do we get those results back from the state lab?
Well, so that's kind of the catch. Some illnesses are rather quick, maybe within a few days. Unfortunately, cyclospora is not one of those. It usually takes about a month and a half to get those test results. And of course, we run a lot of things concurrently. That way, when we get those results, we also can confirm. But sometimes we don't have that capability.
Mhm. Right. And then, of course, if it's not tied to it, like you mentioned, then we need to investigate further what is linking all these other cases potentially together. Like you said, maybe another producer.
Exactly. It's almost like starting over at step one. We identify the potential source, we submit all of our information, and then all of our surrounding counties, pretty much all over the state. We compile all that with the Department of State Health Services, and they kind of take a look at it and go, well, none of these are matching up with the national outbreak. So something else must be going on.
Right. And so then what are the recommendations? If we see recalls, should we just be avoiding all fresh fruit and vegetables at this time? I don't think cake will betray me the way fruits and veggies are right now.
Well, the good thing about cake is that you bake it, right? So you hit that
Exactly.
high temp and it's cooked all the way through. Cake is the way to go.
Uh,
There's always options, and I think my first and foremost advice would be to go to the FDA website. Any recalls that are going on for any of these products, they're going to be listed there. Follow those recalls. Don't consume those products. If you already have them in your home, toss them out. What can I replace that with? That's kind of
mhm,
the next question. Like, well, I love salad. I eat it every day. Typically, local producers are
mhm.
not associated with these types of outbreaks. So if you like your lettuce and you have to have it, go to a local farmer market and see if there's anybody there selling some from their local farm. And you're likely to be much more safe than, say, going into a large retailer and
Mhm.
purchasing your vegetables there.
Yes, and I've also seen too that maybe, doing frozen veggies, frozen fruits, because a lot of times those get picked way before this outbreak actually happened when they get bagged and processed, so your, odds of getting it are a lot lower.
Absolutely. So, your frozen fruits and vegetables, your canned fruits and
Mhm.
vegetables, those, at least for now, tend to be a little bit safer of an option. I know they're not as fresh, not as tasty,
Yeah.
but they are a safe option. An important note, though, is that freezing fruits and vegetables doesn't actually kill
Correct.
Cyclospora. So if it is previously infected or contaminated is the better word for
Mhm.
that, then freezing, it's not going to change that. And as soon as it defrosts, it's just as infectious as it was before.
Correct, correct, and then just reiterating the reason why we are okay at this point with doing canned and frozen veggies is because these were picked before this outbreak happened. So the odds of them being contaminated, as Caleb said, are low, but of course that risk isn't zero. If you have the option to go to a local farmer's market, now is a great time, if you haven't before, to support your local farmers.
Absolutely. And, any fruit and vegetable that's cooked high heat, that's the way to go. So if you're still going to buy your fruits and vegetables from retailers that might be associated in these recalls, cook them. And that will keep you nice
wash
and
your
healthy.
hands.
And please wash your hands. keep washing your hands.
Great. Thank you so much. And then, so in terms of with cases, where can someone go to get updates on us locally with what's going on?
As far as our numbers go, we are working on some dashboards and things that are public facing. None of those exist quite yet.
Okay.
They're not published, but we are working on them so that our public can just hop on our website and take a look, and you can kind of see those case counts and what's going on. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns and you're sitting at home and you're like, I've got this bag of Taylor Farms salad, or I've got this Taco Bell from this particular location, or anything like that, and you have questions about that, please call us. That's what we're here for. We are full of information and we are happy to share what we can.
Yes. And then any closing statements?
Wash.
This is treatable. It can be treated very effectively, usually with Bactrim or the off-brand version of that. It's a long name. I'm not going to attempt it, but it works very well. And most people, when hospitalized, is due to dehydration. So as of today, when I was looking, there are no deaths associated with the outbreak. There are hospitalizations, but people are recovering and doing well.
Well, thank you all. Yeah, I think it's a good reminder. I mean, us here, we're not going to throw out like catchy headlines outside of explosive diarrhea, because that's what it is, because this happens every year. It's expected. As Caleb said, as far as we're aware, there are no local producers here or distributors that have led to people getting sick. Wash your veggies, cook your veggies, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands.
And hydrate.
Hydrate and clean your surfaces. And of course, if you're not feeling well, don't go swimming in pool.
Just kind of chill.
Just stay home.
Yeah.
And if we call you, answer us. Please, please, please. Well, thank y'all so much. Thank you to our food distributors as well. I'm not going to shout out any particular grocery store, but from what I've read, a lot of them have been reaching out to their distributors, their local producers, to see if there's been any contamination. And as far as they're aware, we're aware there isn't. So believe me, everybody is doing what they can to make sure you stay happy, healthy, and not stuck on a toilet. And a big thank you to you if you've made it to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please follow this podcast and share this episode with family and friends. Want to learn more about emerging public health issues and all the great work Williamson County and City's Health District does to manage them? Tune in on the 2nd, 4th, and sometimes 5th Tuesday of every month for new mini-sodes, where we'll discuss WCCHD's roles in keeping our communities healthy and safe. Be sure to check out our website at WCCHD.org and follow us on all our social media pages for more information and for podcast updates. Are you interested in learning more about a specific public health topic for a future episode? Feel free to reach out to us at publichealthistx@wilcotx.gov. And remember, public health is you, it's me, it's we, it's us. It's Cyclospora cilantro season /explosive diarrhea.
Watch out, people.